The alarmed vastness of space stretched endlessly, cold and silent. On the edge of the Galactic Empire's frontier, the night of stars was calm. Imperial patrol ships floated in their usual formations, their crews half asleep with routine. No one expected anything unusual. No one expected fear to arrive tonight. Inside the flagship Imperial Dawn, the bridge was filled with quiet lights and steady beeps of instruments. Officers sipped recycled water, some reading reports, others checking screens lazily. It was just another shift, another patrol, another night in the endless galaxy. The captain leaned back in his chair, relaxed, confident, for the Empire was supreme. Then it happened. A sharp alarm cut through the silence like a blade. The sound was urgent, raw, unnatural, something the crew had not heard in years. Red lights flashed across the ceiling, making the entire bridge glow with warning. Men and women jumped to their feet, their eyes wide in sudden fear. Report, the captain barked, his voice harder now, and Ensign's hand shook as he pointed at the central screen. Unknown contact. Long-range sensors just picked it up, sir. The captain stood straight, his calm gone. Unknown. Out here, show me. On the main display, a blip appeared, small at first, then larger, brighter, as the sensors focused. It was no asteroid, no drifting debris, no smuggler's craft. The shape was clean, deliberate, and massive. The bridge grew quiet. The only sound, the soft hum of machinery. What is it? Someone whispered. The ensign swallowed hard. It looks like a ship, sir. A pause. A silence heavy as stone fell across the crew. Ships passed here often, of course, but nothing like this. The sensors flickered, trying to read the intruder. The data came in, line after line of numbers. Hull mass, impossible. Energy readings, unstable, too high. Weapons signature, unclassified. The crew stared in disbelief. The captain's eyes narrowed. This cannot be right. Check again. Checked. Sir, it matches only one category. The officer replied, voice shaking. And that is human. The word hit the bridge like thunder. Officers gasped. Some muttered prayers. Others rose in shock. Human? That was not possible. The Empire had destroyed the humans centuries ago. Or so everyone believed. The archives said Earth was broken, scattered, the survivors weak and primitive. And yet the sensors did not lie. The contact was human. The captain's voice grew cold. Impossible. No human ship can be this size. Another officer whispered, sir, this vessel is larger than a dreadnought, larger than anything we have ever seen. The data stream continued. Armor density, unreadable, engine type, beyond catalog, stealth systems, overwhelming. This cannot be a human warship, someone said. No, it is not possible. But the truth glowed on the screen. Undeniable. The Empire's frontier fleet had just encountered something that should not exist. Fear spread quickly. A young ensign stammered, Should we open communications? Another shouted, no, raise shields, prepare weapons. The bridge filled with voices, fear mixing with duty. Orders clashed, discipline cracked. The unknown ship still moved closer, silent, confident, unstoppable. The captain slammed his hand on the console. Silence, he roared. The crew froze. We do not panic. We are the Empire, he declared. But even his voice trembled. He stared at the blip, now sharper, showing the outline of a massive hull, cold metal reflecting starlight. A design both alien and familiar, the dread grew stronger. For a way, other ships in the patrol also saw the contact. They sent frantic reports to high command. Messages raced across hyperchannels. Unknown human vessel detected. Impossible size. Request guidance. The Empire's capital received the news, and for the first time in generations, the throne world shook with fear. Back on the Imperial Dawn, the first officer leaned close to the captain. Sir, if this is human, if this is real, then everything we believed about Earth is a lie. The captain said nothing, his eyes fixed on the growing shadow on the screen. Prepare the fleet, he whispered at last. his words heavy, final. Whatever that is, it changes everything. The crew moved quickly, but none with confidence. Every man and woman felt the same chill in their bones. They were not facing rebels, smugglers, or pirates. They were facing something far worse, the return of humanity. The alarms kept ringing, echoing like a heartbeat of dread. Every flash of red light felt like a countdown. Closer, closer, the unknown ship advanced, silent, calm, uncaring of the panic it caused. And in that silence, every officer, every soldier, every servant of the Empire realized one truth. The galaxy was about to change forever. The captain gripped the rail with iron hands. His voice was a whisper, but carried across the bridge. That cannot be a human warship, is it? No one answered, for deep inside, they all knew the alarm had only just begun. Asterisk. The approach shadow on the screen grew larger, each second pressing fear deeper into the hearts of the Imperial crew. What had first appeared as a faint blur now began to reveal its shape. The lines of the hull were sharp, straight, almost predatory in design. No ship in the Imperial fleet carried such geometry. No archive listed such a pattern. And yet the sensors repeated the same impossible truth. The vessel was human. Range decreasing, the sensor officer whispered, his voice thin and dry. The captain did not answer. His eyes locked on the display. The ship was not charging weapons. It was not even broadcasting signals. It moved with silent confidence, as though the entire frontier fleet did not matter at all. That calm advance was more terrifying than an open threat. It was the march of something that knew its own power. Across the bridge, officers exchanged looks of disbelief. How could this be real? How could humans have built something so vast? For centuries, the Empire had treated humanity as a defeated species. The old wars had ended with Earth's fall, its colonies scattered and broken. The official history said humans were weak, fractured, powerless. But the giant silhouette creeping closer told a different story. It told a story of patience, of secrets, of power reborn. Sir, permission to hail the vessel, one officer said. His fingers hovered over the comms panel. Perhaps they will answer. Perhaps they want peace. Another officer cut him off, fear rising in his tone. Peace? Look at that monster. It's not built for peace. The two men glared at each other, their voices cracking in panic. The captain silenced them with a glare. But his heart was no calmer. The ship closed another 1,000 kilometers. Its engines were unlike anything the Empire had ever recorded. No plasma trails, no ion distortions. Instead, the void rippled faintly as if space itself bent to its will. The science officer stammered. Their drive is beyond classification. He looked at the numbers again, whispering to himself, this is not propulsion. This is something else, something greater. Panic threatened to consume the bridge. The captain forced his voice to stay firm. Order the fleet into defensive formation. Shields raised. The commands echoed through comms to dozens of ships. Imperial cruisers and frigates shifted their positions. Laser batteries hummed to life. Missile bays armed. The Empire's frontier fleet prepared for war. But deep down, everyone felt it. No amount of weapons could stop what was coming. In the dark void, the human warship slowed. It turned slightly, revealing more of its colossal structure. The hull shimmered with strange panels that absorbed sensor waves. Every scan returned incomplete data, broken codes, unreadable systems. It was as if the ship did not wish to be understood, as if it wanted to remain a mystery. And mysteries, in war, were deadlier than weapons. From the capital, frantic orders arrived. Do not fire unless fired upon. Maintain position. Gather data. The Emperor's Council wanted information, not war. But the men and women on the frontier did not share their calm. They were staring into the face of a nightmare. The crew whispered among themselves. What if it's just one ship of many? What if a fleet waits behind it? The thought spread like a virus, and with it came despair. On the flagship, the first officer leaned close to the captain. Sir, if that thing fires, our shields will not hold. The captain did not answer. Instead, he stared at the giant vessel that continued to approach without fear for centuries. The Empire had taught that humans were broken, yet here was a ship that made Imperial dreadnoughts look like toys. His hand tightened into a fist. They lied to us, he thought. The histories were lies. The human warship drew even closer. Its sheer size dwarfed the Imperial patrol fleet. Lights flickered across its hull, patterns like constellations. Some officers thought they were signals. Others thought they were weapons charging. The uncertainty tore at their nerves. Why do they not speak? Someone whispered. The silence of the human ship was louder than any battle cry. It was the silence of control, of power that needed no words. The fleet's younger officers began to panic. One shouted, "We should attack first. We should destroy it before it destroys us." Another snapped, "Attack that thing. Look at it. We'd be dust in seconds." Their fear echoed across the bridge. The captain slammed his hand down again. "Enough." His voice cracked like thunder. "We will not act like cowards. We will hold formation. We will wait." But in his own heart, doubt was growing. He too could see the truth. The Empire was no longer the hunter. The Empire was the prey. Every second the warship grew larger on the screen. Its shadow fell across the Imperial fleet like a storm cloud. The silence of the bridge turned heavy, every heart beat loud. The alarms still pulsed, red lights flashing across pale faces. The approach was steady, unstoppable, and every soul aboard the Imperial Dawn knew the same truth. This was only the beginning. The storm had not yet broken, but it was coming, and nothing in the galaxy could stop it. The Revelation ship loomed closer, its silhouette now stretching across the entire screen. Every officer on the bridge of the Imperial Dawn stared in silence. They had seen warships before, but never something like this. It was not just large, it was colossal, the kind of size that defied reason, the kind of ship that should not even be able to move. The scanners continued to send back fragments of data, each line of numbers more impossible than the last. Armor density, off the scale. The science officer whispered, "Energy readings, unstable." "No, not unstable. Controlled. Refined." He leaned forward, his hands shaking. "This ship is not from any known registry." The captain's jaw tightened, his voice low. "Then where is it from?" A gasp came from the ensign monitoring the hull scans. "Sir, we have a partial visual." The display flickered, resolving bit by bit, and then letters glowed faintly on the massive metal plates, words in an ancient tongue, a language almost forgotten. The crew leaned closer, eyes wide with disbelief. The captain whispered the words aloud, his voice hollow. "Terran Dreadnought, Ghost Yard class." The bridge froze. Nobody spoke. Nobody even breathed. The name carried weight like a hammer strike. Terran. The word was a ghost itself, a name buried in history. The humans. The Terrans, the ones the Empire claimed to have. Broken, ghost yard. Legends told of hidden shipyards, where humans build weapons in secret, places so deep and dark that even the Empire could not find them. The captain's chest tightened. The legends were true. This cannot be. One officer whispered, his eyes wide. The ghost yards were myths, old stories told by smugglers and rebels. But the letters on the hull did not lie. The Dreadnought was real. The humans had not been destroyed. They had been waiting and building. The first officer clenched his fists. If they have one ship like this, how many more do they have? The question hung in the air like a blade. Nobody wanted to answer, because the truth was too terrifying. On the comms channel, messages poured in from other Imperial ships. All reported the same word, Terran. The panic spread across the fleet like wildfire. Veteran captains who had fought dozens of campaigns whispered in fear. Young officers clutched their consoles as though they might fall. The Empire had faced many enemies, but never like this, never the return of the dead. The ship moved closer still. Now the details of its surface were clear. The hull was covered in strange armor, black as shadow. It seemed to drink the starlight. Weapons bristled along its edges. But none resembled Imperial designs. They were older, sharper, more primal, weapons built not for show, but for war. The sight made the crew shiver. This was not just a warship, this was a predator. The captain's voice cracked as he spoke. Open channels. Send a hail. The comms officer obeyed. Signals flashed into the void, requests for communication, demands for identity. No answer came. The human ship remained silent. The silence was worse than any threat, because it meant they did not consider the Empire worthy of words. Inside the War Council chamber on the capital world, the Emperor and his advisors watched the same feed. Their faces were pale, their voices hushed. If this is true, one said, then every history we taught is a lie. Another whispered, if they still have shipyards, we cannot match them. The Emperor raised his hand for silence, his eyes sharp and cold. This ship is proof of one thing only, he said. Humanity has not died. Back on the Imperial Dawn, the first officer turned slowly, his face pale. Sir, if this is one of many, the Empire is in danger. The captain nodded, unable to look away from the screen. For years they had believed humans broken, scattered, forgotten. Now, in front of them, was proof of human strength, proof that humans had not only survived, but advanced. He whispered to himself. They waited, they built, and now they have returned. The Dreadnought shifted slightly, lights along its hull flared in patterns. Some thought it was communication. Others thought it was preparation for battle. The fleet held its breath, shields humming, weapons ready. Every officer felt the same truth in their bones. This was no accident. This ship was here for a reason, and that reason would change the galaxy. The young ensign at the sensor station leaned back, his voice barely a whisper. Sir, we are staring at the future. The captain turned to him, his face grim. No, he said, we are staring at the past. The bridge fell silent again, for the truth was clear. The Empire had tried to bury humanity, but humanity had never been buried. It had been waiting, watching, preparing, and now the ghosts of Earth had returned. The alarm still echoed through the ship. Red lights still pulsed across the bridge. But none of it mattered anymore. The real alarm was not the sound of sirens. It was the realization that the galaxy had lied to itself for centuries. Humans were not gone. Humans were stronger than ever. And their warship was the proof. Imperial Deputy War Council chamber on the capital world burned with light and fear. Dozens of admirals, governors, and ministers sat around a vast table of black steel. Above them floated the hologram of the Terran Dreadnought, glowing like a ghost in the air. Its shadow filled the chamber, a reminder of the truth none of them wanted to face. For hours, the Empire had ruled the galaxy with absolute pride. Now one ship had shattered that pride in a single night. The Emperor himself sat at the head of the chamber, his face carved from stone. His golden robes glimmered, but his eyes betrayed unease. He lifted a hand, and silence fell. Speak, he commanded, his voice like thunder, and the debate began. An admiral rose to his feet, his voice sharp and urgent. Sire, we cannot wait. This Terran ship is a threat to the stability of the Empire. We must send the Grand Fleet, surround it, and destroy it before it spreads fear across our worlds. His words echoed through the chamber, striking sparks of agreement in some. But others shook their heads, eyes filled with doubt. A governor from the inner colonies stood, her voice cold and trembling. Destroy it, Admiral. With what? Our fleets cannot even read its weapons. Our sensors cannot pierce its hull. Attacking blindly would not be war. It would be suicide. We must open dialogue. We must send envoys. Perhaps they come not as enemies, but as challengers. Better to turn them into allies than provoke their wrath. The room erupted into argument. Some shouted for war, others pleaded for diplomacy. Hands slammed against the steel table. Voices rose until they clashed like swords. The hologram of the Dreadnought floated above, silent and uncaring. Its very presence mocked their division, as if the ship itself knew the Empire could not agree. One minister, old and thin, stood slowly, his voice calm but firm. You are all blind. Cannot you see? This ship proves that the humans were never weak, never broken. They have hidden from us, built in secret, and now they return with power beyond comprehension. If they have one dreadnought, they may have 10, they may have 100. Every colony, every fleet of ours could already be surrendered. We must prepare for surrender, not war. Gasps filled the chamber. Outrage erupted. Surrender. One admiral bellowed, his fist slamming the table. The Empire does not surrender to ghosts. The Empire conquers. But the minister only stared at the hologram, his eyes hollow. And what will you conquer when this ship tears your fleets apart? Do not mistake pride for strength. Admiral, pride will kill us faster than their weapons. The Emperor raised his hand again, and the arguments fell into an easy silence. His gaze swept across the chamber, weighing every man and woman. You speak of fear. You speak of surrender. You speak of war, he said. But none of you speak of truth. The truth is this: our empire was built on the ashes of Earth, and if Earth rises again, then the very foundation of our world crumbles. The room trembled with his words. The Emperor leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. We cannot show weakness. If this ship believes we fear it, the humans will return in greater numbers. We must prove the Empire stands strong, and we must do it now. An admiral seized the moment, bowing his head. Then let me lead the grand fleet. Sire, give me the order, and I will destroy this Terran phantom before it spreads terror. One strike, one victory, and the galaxy will remember who rules the stars. His voice boomed with confidence, but behind his eyes, doubt flickered. Before the Emperor could answer, the governor spoke again, louder this time. Listen to yourselves. Are you fools? If this dreadnought survives your attack, the Empire will look weak. If we fail, our enemies will rise against us. The rebellions will grow. Even now, the outer colonies hear rumors, whispers of human power. If we strike and lose, we do not just lose a fleet, we lose the Empire. The chamber filled with silence, a silence so deep it choked the air. The Emperor's hands tightened on the armrests of his throne. He hated the governor's words, but he could not deny their logic. Every decision was poison, every path led to danger. The First Minister of Intelligence finally stood, his voice low and shadowed. There is another way, he said. Eyes turned to him. We study them, we delay, we gather every scrap of data from this dreadnought. If humans have returned, then somewhere, hidden in the dark, they have built shipyards. If we can find those yards, we can strike at their heart. We cannot fight the shadow before we know its shape. Murmurs spread through the chamber, heads nodding slowly. The Emperor's eyes narrowed as he thought. It was not victory, but it was survival. At last, he rose, his golden robe flowing. This council will not break before one ship, he said, his voice iron. We will not surrender, nor will we rush blindly into war. We will watch, we will wait, we will learn, and when the time comes, we will strike. The chamber filled with forced applause, though no heart believed the words. Above them, the hologram of the Terran dreadnought shimmered. Silent, vast, and untouchable, the debate was over, but the fear remained, for all of them knew the truth. No decision, no strategy, no plan could change what had been revealed. The humans had returned, and the Empire was no longer master of the stars. The show of strength stars above the frontier were still and quiet. The Imperial fleet held formation, hundreds of ships aligned in perfect order. Shields shimmered faintly. Weapons glowed with readiness. Every crewman waited, their eyes fixed on the massive Terran dreadnought that floated before them. The silence was unbearable. The human ship had not moved for minutes, as if it was watching, judging, deciding. On the bridge of the Imperial dawn, sweat beaded on the brows of officers. The captain's voice was steady, but his hands gripped the console with iron tension. Hold position, he ordered. Do not fire unless ordered. The fleet obeyed. But fear bled into discipline. Every man and woman knew that if the dreadnought attacked, nothing could stop it. Then, without warning, The human ship moved. Its colossal hull turned slightly, revealing long, dark panels along its side. The panels split open, and light bled through like fire escaping from cracks. Weapon ports. The sensor officer shouted, panic in his voice. Unknown configuration. Unknown energy signature. I cannot classify. The captain's heart sank. It was about to begin. The Dreadnought's silence ended in light. Beams of energy erupted across the void, silent but devastating. Not the bright plasma blasts of Imperial weapons, not the slow missiles of standard fleets. These were thin lances of pure white, precise and merciless. They cut through the darkness of space like blades of the gods, and they struck with unstoppable force. The first Imperial cruiser vanished. 1 second it was there, the next it was sliced clean in half. Its shield never flickered, its armor never even resisted. The beam tore it apart as if it were paper. Debris scattered, fire erupted. Screams filled the comms before fading into static. The fleet gasped as one shot, one ship gone. Then came another, and another. The human Dreadnought fired again, beams crisscrossing through space. Every shot found its target with surgical precision. Imperial destroyers exploded. Frigates broke apart. Battleships cracked open. The Dreadnought moved slowly, calmly, like a predator taking its time. And yet, with every passing second, more Imperial ships died. The bridge of the Imperial Dawn shook with chaos. Shields are useless, one officer cried. Armor cannot withstand it, shouted another. The captain shouted for order, but his voice was drowned by panic. The comms filled with desperate screams from other ships. Mayday, mayday, we are losing systems. They are everywhere. We cannot. Static silenced them one by one. The Imperial fleet fired back. Lasers and missiles filled the void, brilliant flashes streaking toward the Dreadnought. But every weapon vanished against its black armor. Missiles detonated harmlessly. Lasers bent away as if swallowed by the void. The science officer stared in disbelief. They are absorbing the attacks, he whispered. His words chilled the crew. The Empire's weapons were nothing against this human ghost. In the War Council chamber far away, the Emperor watched the battle unfold on a giant display. The chamber was silent, except for the sound of ships dying. One advisor whispered, "This is not a battle, this is slaughter." The Emperor's hands gripped his throne, his eyes burning with fury and fear. "We underestimated them," he hissed. "We told lies to ourselves, and now we pay the price." Back in the battlefield, the Dreadnought's weapons ceased. Silence returned, broken only by drifting wreckage and burning hulks. The fleet was broken. Dozens of ships destroyed, more crippled and fleeing. The Terran ship had not even taken a scratch. It floated and touched, invincible, unbothered by the chaos it had caused. The Dreadnought had fired not to destroy, but to demonstrate. And the message was clear. Humanity had returned with power beyond imagination. The captain of the Imperial Dawn stared at the wreckage, his face pale. "They could have destroyed us all," he whispered, "but they chose to stop." The first officer's voice shook. Why? Why would they hold back? The captain's answer was grim. "Because they wanted us to see. They wanted the Empire to know." The Dreadnought turned slowly, its engines glowing faintly. It drifted past the broken Imperial fleet like a ghost passing through ruins. Every surviving officer watched in silence, their fear deeper than before. The ship did not finish them, because it did not need to. The battle was not about victory, it was about revelation. And the revelation was undeniable. The Empire was powerless. As the human Dreadnought faded into the distance, the alarms on the Imperial Dawn finally fell silent. But no one on the bridge felt relief. They had seen the truth. They had seen the strength of humanity. And in that silence, every soul aboard the surviving ships realized the same thing. This was only the beginning. The humans had shown just a glimpse of their power, and soon, the galaxy would face the rest. The aftermath battlefield was quiet now. The fire of wrecked ships drifted slowly across the void, glowing against the stars. Fragments of metal spun endlessly. Twisted remains of proud Imperial cruisers and destroyers, What had once been the Empire's proud frontier fleet was now scattered ruin, and in the center of it all floated the Imperial Dawn. Scarred, but still alive, its crew sat in stunned silence, their hearts broken, their minds unable to process what they had witnessed. The human Dreadnought had vanished into the dark. It did not stay to finish them. It did not need to. The silence it left behind was more terrifying than its weapons. Because silence meant choice, it meant the humans had chosen to let them live. They had chosen to show strength without total destruction. That choice carried more power than fire itself. On the bridge of the Imperial Dawn, the captain stood stiffly. His eyes scanned the wreckage on the display. He had commanded battles before, seen losses, seen victories, but nothing compared to this. This was not a battle. This was a lesson. The Terrans had shown what they could do with a single ship. The message was clear: resistance was hopeless. His first officer spoke. Quietly, "Sir, what do we tell High Command?" The captain's voice cracked. "The truth. We tell them the truth, even if they do not want to hear it." He turned to the crew, his face pale, but his voice firm. "Send recovery ships. Rescue who we can. But make no mistake, our fleet is broken, and the Empire is in danger." Messages raced across subspace, distress signals, casualty lists, desperate cries for help. But faster than the messages of loss were the whispers. Whispers that spread through every surviving officer and soldier, whispers that traveled with every survivor who made it home. Humans are back. They built a dreadnought that destroyed us in minutes. They are stronger than the Empire. On the capital world, the Emperor sat in his chamber, his face dark with rage. Reports arrived one after another, each worse than the last. Dozens of ships destroyed, thousands dead, the frontier fleet. His wall of defense humiliated. Advisors argued in panic, some shouting for retaliation, others begging for diplomacy. But the Emperor only stared at the holomap, where the Dreadnought's path had been traced. His empire had been shaken, and nothing could erase that fear. Across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. On distant colonies, governors received the whispers before the official reports. Merchants, smugglers, and travelers carried the story from system to system. In dark taverns and bright markets, voices repeated the same tale. A human ship destroyed an Imperial fleet. Not just a ship, a dreadnought. Bigger than anything the Empire has ever built. They let the survivors go as a warning. Fear turned into unrest. On some worlds, citizens whispered of rebellion. If humans could resist the Empire, why couldn't they? On other worlds, leaders began to question their loyalty to the throne. If the Empire could not protect them from humanity, perhaps alliances should be reconsidered. The stability of the galaxy trembled, all because of one ship. Meanwhile, among the survivors, despair mixed with shame. Imperial soldiers who had once believed themselves invincible now stared at their hands in disbelief. They had fired every weapon, every missile, every laser, and none of it mattered. Their proud technology was useless. Their training, their discipline, their courage, nothing could stand against the Terran dreadnought. The survivors carried more than scars. They carried doubt. And doubt was poison to an empire built on fear. In the shadows of the political halls, spies and agents spread their own theories. Some claimed the humans had returned for revenge. Others believed they sought to reclaim lost colonies. And a few whispered of something darker, that the dreadnought was only a scout, and that far beyond Imperial space, an entire human armada was waiting. Whether true or not, the fear was enough to shake entire governments. Back on the Imperial Dawn, the captain sat alone in his quarters. He replayed the battle again and again. Every beam of white light, every explosion, every scream. The memory burned into his mind like fire. He thought of the ghost-eared legends, of the humans hiding in silence. For centuries, the Empire had told its people the Earth was weak, that humans were gone. But the truth was now undeniable. The humans had never been gone. They had been preparing, and now they had shown themselves. He whispered into the empty room, his voice heavy. They wanted us to see, they wanted us to know. And now we do. Outside his window, the stars, stretched forever, cold and uncaring. But to him, they no longer felt safe. The galaxy had changed in one night. The Empire was no longer the master. And deep down, he feared the truth. The humans were not just back, the humans were rising. The new real-life galaxy was no longer the same. Every corner of Imperial space now whispered the same question. What happens when the humans return? It was no longer rumor, no longer myth. It was reality, carved into the stars by a single dreadnought. The Empire's strength had been tested, and it had been found weak. On the throne world, the Emperor stood alone in his private chamber. The lights dimmed, the silence deep. He stared at the hologram of the Terran ship. Still flickering in the air, its outline haunted him for the first time in his reign. Fear touched his heart, not fear of rebels or rival lords, but fear of something greater, fear of humanity itself. His advisors begged him to act. Some demanded more fleets, more weapons, more ships. Others urged diplomacy, envoys, and treaties. But the Emperor remained silent. He knew the truth, though he did not speak it aloud. If one human dreadnought could crush his fleets, then no number of Imperial ships could save them. The Empire's foundation had cracked, and cracks spread quickly across the colonies, and rest grew louder. Workers spoke in secret meetings, dreaming of freedom. Governors hesitated to send their taxes and soldiers to the throne. Merchants whispered that the future belonged not to the Empire, but to Earth, and in hidden corners, rebels raised their banners again. The legend of human strength gave them courage. The dreadnought had not only destroyed ships, it had destroyed fear, the fear that once kept the Empire unchallenged. On the frontier, survivors of the battle returned home. They were broken men and women, haunted by what they had seen, but they were also witnesses. They carried the story to every world. They spoke of white beams that cut through ships like glass, of armor that absorbed every weapon, of silence more terrifying than war, and of the words etched on the hull Terran dreadnought, Ghost Yard class. For ordinary people, the name became hope. For Imperial soldiers, the name became dread. Everywhere, the effect was the same. The Empire's myth of invincibility was dead. Meanwhile, far from Imperial eyes, the human dreadnought drifted through the void. Its engines hummed softly, bending space as if it were nothing. On its bridge, human officers stood proud. They spoke little, for they had achieved what they came for. They had revealed themselves. They had sent their message. Humanity was no longer hiding. Humanity was no longer weak. The commander of the dreadnought gazed at the star map before him. Dots of light marked the Empire's worlds. Thousands upon thousands. He smiled faintly, not in cruelty, but in certainty. This is only the beginning, he said. His crew nodded in silence, for they knew their task was not conquest. Not yet. Their task was to remind the galaxy of a truth long buried. That humanity endures, that humanity evolves, that humanity fights back. Back in the halls of the Empire, debates raged. Some still argued the humans could be reasoned with. Others swore that war was the only path. But none could erase the fear. Every plan was built on sand, every strategy shaken by the memory of that single ship. The dreadnought had not fired for victory. It had fired for demonstration. And the demonstration had worked. The captain of the Imperial Dawn gave his final report. His voice was heavy, his eyes hollow. They could have destroyed us all. But they did not. They wanted us to see. They wanted us to know. When asked what the Empire should do, he only gave one answer. Prepare, for the humans will return. And when they do, nothing will stop them. And so the galaxy shifted. Alliances wavered. Rebellion stirred. Hope and fear mixed in equal measure. The Empire, once unquestioned, now stood on uncertain ground. Every world knew the truth. There was a new power in the galaxy, not new in birth, but new in strength, not born of the stars, but reborn from ashes. In the silence of space, the words of the humans lingered. a transmission carried through hidden channels, recorded by listening posts, for simple words that would echo forever. We were silent until now. The Empire trembled, the colonies whispered, and the humans prepared. The new reality was clear. The age of the Empire was ending. The age of humanity was about to begin.